there's a rumor that Sony is about to acquire Zenimax.
You see them, Phil? Can you smell their fear?
Yes, Master.
Watch them beg, as we cling to what's rightfully ours. Bethesda. I mean, Zenimax. Yes. We warned them, didn't we? We did. Release the article.
Okay.
But Phil, use the word some exclusives. They can't handle it yet.
Hello everyone, 3-Bit here with another episode of 3-Bit Talks. It's been some time for those who follow me. I've been on different podcasts, which I'll talk about more towards the end of this video. Thought I would do a special little animation for this episode. Hope you guys liked that little skit. If you guys like videos like these, be sure to hit that notification bell to be notified when our next video hits. But we have some news to get into, so let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
There's a lot to talk about, but let's get into what happened recently. So Zenimax had a roundtable event with Microsoft for the first time, as they are now a first-party studio underneath Xbox. Things people probably want to hear from me is the bit about exclusivity. So here's what they had to say about exclusivity in that deal with Zenimax, because we all know that's what people were concerned about for months. So let's see what Phil had to say.
Had a lot of questions, all of us, over the months about, well, what are you going to do here? What are you going to do here? And we said it a couple times, but I'm not sure everybody heard it.
They didn't believe us, Phil.
We weren't able, there was no decision making going on between the organizations. You guys have been running as Bethesda for all this time. We've been, which, like you said, seems like it's been a long time. We've been running as Xbox, so
Yeah,
now
I
see it in the community. I listen to the podcasts and all the questions. So I'm going to try to be as clear as I can, because that's what I just think it's fair. So obviously I can't sit here and say every Bethesda game is exclusive, because we know that's not true. There's contractual obligations that we're going to see through, as we always do in every one of these instances. We have games that exist on other platforms, and we're going to go support those games on the platforms they're on. There's communities of players. We love those communities, and we'll continue to invest in them. And even in the future, there might be things that have either contractual things or legacy on different platforms that we'll go do. But if we're an Xbox customer, the thing I want you to know is this is about delivering great exclusive games for you that ship on platforms where GamePass exists. And that's our goal. That's why we're doing this. That's the root of this partnership that we're building, and the creative capability we will be able to bring to market for our Xbox customers. It's going to be the best it's ever been for Xbox after we're done here.
So we can break down what he just said, but basically when he mentions legacy titles, what I get from that is older games that are long running, most likely received service updates like Fallout 76 or Elder Scrolls Online. If they fit within that criteria, they can show up on other platforms. As they have said, they're not trying to take titles you've already experienced away, so you might see another Skyrim port on your PlayStation 5 or remasters for previous already released games. I keep seeing more confusion on the way he phrased legacy titles online, and what a stupid thing to fall out for. Get it? Fallout 4.
Get out of my car now!
Where is my destination?
Get out of my car now!
The definition of the word legacy refers to difficult to replace because of its wide use. That to me only really references long-running games like Fallout 76 and Elder Scrolls Online, unless they are contractually obligated to release newer games like the new Elder Scrolls, new Fallout, Indiana Jones, possibly. That is an interesting one to look for. We have Starfield coming out, a new Doom, most likely a Prey or Dishonored sequel, future Ghostwire or Deathloop games. These games will most likely not show up on any other platform besides Xbox, PC, and mobile devices in the future. Legacy does not mean the catalog of Elder Scrolls games are all coming to different platforms. It does not mean newer Elder Scroll games are coming to the PlayStation because it was an already established game. Unless it's contractually obliged to come to the PlayStation, like Ghostwire and Deathloop, then it most likely will not be coming. But pretty much Legacy is the older games. This announcement wasn't a surprise to me because for months and months, this is what myself, content creators like Mr. Boomstick XL and Randall Thor have been saying in different shows we've been on. Unless the game has some contract that says otherwise, you most likely will only see these games live on Xbox, PC, and mobile devices because that is where Game Pass lives so far. If Game Pass lives on a PlayStation 5, then that is where Game Pass will go as well. In fact, almost 5 months ago, before anything was really confirmed, well, I mean, the Zenimax deal was confirmed, but before any ink was dry, I made a video on Zenimax basically outlining what could happen. I think it lines up pretty well today, so go check that out. Here is the video for that, if you're interested to see what my thoughts were before anything was set in stone. And to the future of exclusivity, because Microsoft is not done purchasing studios, I think Valve, Sega, and Konami are definitely new contenders toward to where I think Microsoft wants to go as a company. But to the future of exclusivity, I think a big alert for me for how Microsoft will forever treat exclusivity, and this is aimed towards the media that never mentions any of these for whatever reason. How I think Microsoft would treat exclusivity can be pointed to how they are treating their recent studios like Ninja Theory. Hellblade 1 was a PlayStation title, and how did they announce the sequel once Microsoft purchased that studio? Hellblade 2 is now exclusive. Outer Worlds 2 is an exclusive after being a previous platform game. Now the sequel is going to be exclusive. Psychonauts 2 is an interesting one because Double Fine Productions promised to deliver Psychonauts 2 to different platforms due to their Kickstarter, but for newer platforms outside of Xbox that they didn't promise for, aka the PlayStation 5, it is not currently announced for that new system, at least as of the recording of this video. So that to me shows where their priorities lie. I know people get confused with Phil's statements about exclusivity and use that as an argument that Xbox hates exclusives, even though people never question why Halo would never show up on a PlayStation. Minecraft is always a huge example that people use, but I would compare that to what they're doing with Zenimax, putting a service type game like ESO and Fallout 76 on multiple platforms, because it makes sense for those types of games, especially with all the deals that was going on with Mojang requiring some sort of exclusivity clause with Notch. But you take that evidence on how they treat those studios, you pair it up with how much Xbox mentions their ecosystem being Xbox, PC, and mobile. Phil brings up consistently on how they want to bring users into that ecosystem, and the answer doesn't lean on giving games to multi-platforms for more money. Okay, months ago they've already made their money back from Zenimax, the $7 billion acquisition. They already made that money back. The answer becomes how to build your brand with Game Pass. This article I'm about to bring up was a reference point for people essentially trying to disprove that Xbox wasn't down with exclusives. People look at the headline, then call it a day without actually reading it. So let's finally put a nail in this coffin so we don't have to talk about exclusives anymore. We can move on. So Phil says this: gaming is about entertainment and community and diversion and learning new stories and new perspectives. He said, I find it completely counter to what gaming is about to say that part of that is to lock people away from being able to experience those games, or to force someone to buy my specific device on the day that I want them to go buy it. In order to partake in what gaming is about, gaming is bigger than any one device. This doesn't mean Phil hates exclusives like people are saying he does. At the end of the day, they're still a business, and what you can get out of that statement is that they're opening up their ecosystem so more people can play those games. Something Xbox made standard in this generation is opening up their games to PC as well. And before that, it wasn't a very common practice to make your first party games go out to PC, especially out of the big three, Nintendo, Sony, and Xbox. Rare of them to do that. So what did Microsoft do after this article? They told the media they would support the Xbox One for 1 to 7 years after the Series X's launch. Media bashed them for it, said it was holding back games while Sony was doing the same thing in the background with the "We Believe in Generations" line. The future for these consoles is expanding their ecosystem. You already have PlayStation moving to do the same thing with their games. MLB Big Show, Horizon Zero Dawn, Days Gone, and Death Stranding all on PC now. And I believe those are the jumping points for where Sony will be headed. Microsoft expanded xCloud and GamePass for mobile devices, allowing the mobile crowd to be able to jump into these Xbox titles. And this is something from Colt Eastwood, but I think it's so good. So these companies are billion-dollar companies at the end of the day. They will go for your dollar. With Sony, it does seem like they are waiting and testing the waters, seeing how Microsoft moves, especially with Jim Ryan saying Game Pass isn't sustainable. And then later he mentions how they are trying to bring games in day and date. Game Pass is brand new and kind of improving in a lot of ways for some people, but its potential is insane and it's consistently growing. By expanding Xbox's ecosystem into multi-platforms, most of what they already own, PC for the Windows, right? They already own that. They are expanding their market and growth potential there. The mobile market itself is already huge on its own. Not to mention you'll be able to play Game Pass on TVs soon, pumping the variety of choice even further. So there is no true exclusivity within Xbox anymore, which is what Phil seems to be hinting at in this article, and it's only grown to more of that since the release of that article. So Xbox is giving gamers variety within their own ecosystem of Game Pass. So wherever Game Pass lives is where their first party games will also go. Something I'm really excited about with Game Pass and the potential future of it. There's just a lot of amazing games coming out this year. I know people always just look for those AAA bangers, but we got Scorn, Crossfire X, and possibly Starfield, not to even mention Stalker 2 or Halo Infinite. All of these, unless delayed, are coming to Xbox this year. And with the consistent growth of studios that are working on those games in the shadows, like Compulsion Games and whatever they're cooking up, Sony definitely has their work cut out for them if they want to compete with Game Pass, because it's definitely growing in front of our eyeballs. People also need to think about the value of Game Pass. You have these big companies like Take-Two stating that the audience is ready for these $70 games, and then you have Sony charging that amount for their first party titles, and Nintendo never pricing their games down despite how old that game is. That is where Game Pass starts to look very appealing to me personally. For one brand new Sony game, you can get 4 months of Game Pass, right? For 2 Sony games, you can get 9 months of Game Pass. This is hundreds of games, brand new titles like Outriders was just coming out day and date. They included EA Play, so lots of EA games are already on there. And then all of Microsoft's first party games like Halo Infinite are all within Game Pass. There are even deals. If you're trying Game Pass for the first time, you get like a whole month for $1. So Game Pass is a pretty great deal so far. It feels almost too good to be true sometimes, like I'm stealing from the developers, but based on what developers have been saying, you can already guess it's pretty good for them. They not only get the initial money, but more people are flocking to games that they wouldn't have done previously. Let's go to Disney Plus for a second. Disney Plus is a great example for how much exclusives can matter. WandaVision, and I'd even argue Mandalorian, was enough for Disney Plus to topple 100 million subscribers. You don't think Disney is reaching out to Netflix to try and put WandaVision on Netflix because they want more money. You know, it's not what they do. If you want to watch WandaVision, you come to Disney Plus, and we got you as a subscriber, which to many executives, that's almost worth more than just a ticket price because it's passive income that continues to come in. I use that to compare it to this deal. Microsoft wants you subscribed to Game Pass. They want you to come into the ecosystem, and that means exclusives within Game Pass are almost a certainty in this case as the service begins to grow over time. And that is it for today's video. If you guys agreed with this video or not, let us know in the comment section down below. Don't forget to subscribe for more content from the Video Games HD. I am 3-Bit signing off. Have a good one.